Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Learning Biology with Dr. Vanessa, where we take difficult biological concepts and make them easy to understand. Do you ever wonder where your energy comes from? Whether you're sprinting, studying, or simply breathing, your body is constantly burning fuel. And that fuel? Carbohydrates. But how does your body break them down and turn them into usable energy? Join me in this video as we take a closer look at how the body metabolizes carbohydrates. When you eat a meal rich in carbohydrates like bread, pasta, or fruit, your digestive system gets to work, breaking those complex molecules down into simpler ones that the body can easily absorb. Starches and disaccharides like sucrose and lactose are hydrolyzed into their building blocks. These monosaccharides include glucose, fructose, and galactose. But most of the fructose and galactose you absorb are quickly converted into glucose by your liver. That means when we talk about carbohydrate metabolism, what we're really talking about is the metabolism of glucose, the body's primary energy source. Once glucose enters your bloodstream, it has four main fates. It can be used immediately for energy in the production of ATP, stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles, used for amino acid synthesis, or if there's excess, it can be converted into fat, those triglycerides. But before your cells can use it, glucose must be able to enter the cell and then be broken down through a series of metabolic pathways. The problem is that glucose is a large polar molecule. It can't simply diffuse through the membrane on its own. Instead, it relies on glucose transporters or GLUT proteins. These transporters help move glucose into the cell through facilitated diffusion. Different types of cells use different glucose transporters. For example, muscle and fat cells primarily use GLUT4, which is regulated by insulin. Once inside the cell, glucose is immediately phosphorylated. This phosphorylation traps glucose inside the cell, committing it to metabolism. Carbohydrate metabolism is the process by which your body converts carbohydrates into energy. The oxidation of glucose to produce ATP is known as cellular respiration, and this is a multi-step process that efficiently extracts that energy from glucose. It involves four sets of reactions: glycolysis, the formation of acetyl coenzyme A, the Krebs cycle reactions, and the electron transport chain reactions. The first step of glucose metabolism is glycolysis, which takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. Here, one molecule of glucose, which is a 6-carbon sugar, is split into two 3-carbon molecules of pyruvic acid. This process generates a small amount of ATP and also produces NADH, which is an electron carrier that will be crucial later on. This process does not require oxygen, which means it happens in aerobic or anaerobic conditions. Now, the fate of pyruvic acid is going to depend on the availability of oxygen. If oxygen is scarce, then pyruvic acid is reduced to form lactic acid or lactate. However, if oxygen is available, pyruvate moves into the mitochondrial matrix and is converted into acetyl coenzyme A, which enters the Krebs cycle, also called the citric acid cycle. Here, glucose is broken down even further, releasing carbon dioxide and producing high-energy electron carriers NADH and FADH2. Now comes the real ATP jackpot, the electron transport chain. NADH and FADH2 donate the electrons that they've collected, which creates a flow of energy that powers ATP production. Oxygen acts as the final electron acceptor, forming water as a byproduct. This process, which is known as oxidative phosphorylation, generates the majority of the ATP your cells need. But glucose metabolism isn't just about the catabolism or breaking down of glucose. It's also about building glucose up through anabolic reactions for storage and release. When blood sugar levels are high, excess glucose molecules are put together and stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles through a process called glycogenesis. This removes the excess glucose from the blood. Later, when blood sugar drops, glycogen can be broken back down into glucose through a process called glycogenolysis. This ensures a steady supply of glucose, which allows the body to have a steady supply of energy between meals. These processes are regulated by hormones that are released from the pancreas, both insulin and glucagon. Insulin is released when blood sugar is high, and it promotes glucose uptake and storage as glycogen. When blood sugar drops, glucagon is going to signal the liver to break down glycogen and release glucose back into the blood. But what happens when glycogen stores are depleted? That's where gluconeogenesis comes in. This is a process where the liver synthesizes glucose from non-carbohydrate sources like amino acids and triglycerides or fats. This ensures a steady supply of glucose even during times of fasting or intense exercise. In this process, glucose is newly formed rather than being converted back from glycogen as we saw in glycogenolysis. Now, this process is also stimulated by hormones, and these hormones include cortisol, which is secreted by the adrenal cortex, and glucagon, which is secreted by the pancreas. So the body also has this way of being able to produce glucose from non-carbohydrate sources if it is needed. As you can see, carbohydrate metabolism is a complex but essential process that keeps your body running. From breaking down glucose for immediate energy to storing and retrieving it when needed, your body is constantly fine-tuning this system to maintain balance or homeostasis. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to learn more about how your body produces and uses energy, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. In the next video, we are going to explore lipid metabolism, which is another key player in energy production.